All right. Listen, folks. Once there was a time. Once there was a time when the name Bernie Sanders or AOC or anyone else part of the squad, remember 2016, 2018, maybe even a little bit of 2020, when the crowds would show up in mass for our quote unquote progressive heavyweight champions. I remember during the 2020 Democratic primary where tens of thousands of people showed up to see Bernie Sanders and AOC speak. Before we realized that they were just nothing more than hack frauds, before we realized that AOC was more than happy to be the next Nancy Pelosi, before there was a time when we all had respect for Bernie till we found out that he was nothing more than a nutless, spineless, heartless, soulless cuck wonder, they would show up. And over the weekend, Bernie, Bowman, and AOC hosted an event in the Bronx where only, I don't know if I'm being generous here, maybe 100 or 200 people showed up. It was like night and day. And it was pretty cringe watching AOC dance to Cardi B or Bernie Sanders talking about how Israel had the right to defend itself. Now, of course, there was a little bit more to that. But as we all know, Bowman is facing an uphill fight against his APAC opponent. And to be very clear here, look, I don't want to see Bowman's APAC opponent win, but Bowman, AOC, Bernie, you're wondering why people aren't showing up to your massive events. It's because the enthusiasm has evaporated. So let's get started with the cringe and see AOC and Bowman start hyping things up as though it is, what, 2016 all over again? 2018? I don't think so.
What's up, everybody? We are just a few days out till the election day, our primary election on Tuesday, June 25th. But the good news is that the polls are open right now, and we are here for our brother, Jamal Bowman. We want to turn out the vote. I don't care if you live in New York 16 and are turning out to vote for him. I don't care if you live outside New York 16. We are texting our friends. We are turning out. We are calling our friends in Tuckahoe, in White Plains, in New Rochelle, in Yonkers, and telling them to vote for Jamal Bowman.
Yes, and that hype isn't doing anything.
Ceasefire now, y'all. That's what we're doing. Ceasefire now. Let's get it popping. The polls are open today. The polls are open tomorrow. Make sure you get out the vote. Election day is Tuesday. Let's go. We need record turnout all across the district.
That's not going to happen. I've been following the Democratic primary, and voter turnout is abysmal in comparison to 2016 and in 2020. If you look at the primaries for those two election years, the turnout is astronomically higher than what we're seeing in 2024. People aren't enthusiastic about the Democratic Party, the squad, Bernie, or anything associated with it.
Especially in Yonkers, Mount Vernon, New Rochelle, Co-op City, and Edenwald. Let's get it popping. Let's change the world. It's the many versus the money. We're going to win. Right. Let's go, baby.
We're going to win. We're going to take on APAC, and we're going to kick some Wall Street ass. So let's go.
Yeah, gangster boo. All right. But I'm not believing it because shout out to Big Mad Crab of INN, because INN was there. Big Mad Crab giving you a shout out. Indy giving you a shout out for your crew. Folks, this was the turnout. The turnout for Bernie Sanders and AOC. Hey, let's have democracy in the chat. And no, I'm not rigging my elections. I'm just giving you guys a real clear choice. Type your response to this. Type 1 for Kit. This is an appropriate amount of people tuning up. You, sir, are just being an agitator and an awful man for calling out the turnout. This is just fine. Type 2, nah, man. Squad and all of its hype has evaporated, and I remember when tens of thousands of people would show up. I wonder how many 2s will get in the chat. I wonder.
And it's not just auto workers. Bernie has stood with us in so many ways, from graduate workers who've organized in record numbers to inviting our President Sean King to speak in the 2 minutes.
Now, you're noticing that there's a fence and there's people protesting over there. Folks, those are protesters calling out AOC and Bernie. And just remember, I paused here to show you them. Never forget AOC and Bernie, that only now it's acceptable for you guys to say, what, ceasefire now, or say the word genocide. You know, a lot of people have been asking you guys to fight, but you guys only seem to stand up when it's politically acceptable to do so. A lot of you guys aren't as brave as you say you are. And those are people protesting right there in the back, behind the fence, against AOC. But we'll get to them later. But folks, here's how the media covered the event. Shout again to Case Study QB.
A show of strength from Congressman Jamal Bowman, figuratively and literally Saturday, by his side at a rally in the Bronx, some of the most well-known progressives in Congress. Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders. In his final push before the primary on Tuesday, Bowman addressed the millions of dollars spent by the pro-Israel lobby to attack him for his support of Palestinians, including repeated calls for...
Why did he pick up the stool? Hold on, I'm sorry, we're rewinding that again. Why'd you pick up the stool like that?
Primary on Tuesday, Bowman addressed the millions of dollars spent by the pro-Israel lobby to attack him for his support of Palestinians.
I mean, is he gonna hit somebody upside the head like you'd see in a WWE? I mean, I don't know.
Including repeated calls for a ceasefire in the Middle East.
Our movement is more powerful than their money.
Senator Sanders says the challenge against Bowman represents a threat to American democracy.
Never before in history have powerful special interests spent so much money trying to defeat a candidate. So what this campaign is about is telling the billionaire class and their greed and their super PACs they are not going to destroy American democracy.
Bowman's challenger, Westchester County Executive George Latimer, spent Saturday casting his early vote in Mount Vernon.
What's wrong in Washington now is a lack of focus on trying to get to an end result. If you want to do that, you have to work with everybody in your conference. You have to work across the aisle where appropriate, and you have to focus on what's the end product, not just on the process and not just on stating what the problems are.
The latest polling from Pix 11, Emerson College and The Hill shows Latimer with a 17-point lead in the race. He says that's a sign voters are ready for a change.
I've tried to be grassroots oriented, meeting people where they are.
And it's the Bronx in the building tonight.
Oh, yes. AOC got angry. She decided to snap. And I'm going to play that video. However, I can't play it with the full audio because Cardi B is playing in the background. But AOC is just jumping up and down on the stage, trying to act all gangster for some reason. And no, she is. She is. It's sort of like a rally, but no one's really getting hyped up. And I don't know who AOC is trying to charge up and snap at. But gone are the glory days. Where is the legion of once mighty progressives? They left because AOC and Bernie and Bowman and the whole squad gave them a middle finger when we asked them to fight. Never forget forced to vote. Never forget March for Medicare for All. Never forget the times when we've asked them to fight and they said no, or that this is violence, or that we're being mean, or everything else in between. Never forget.
Meantime, back at the Bronx rally, despite facing a primary of her own in New York 14, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez spent most of her time championing Bowman.
They want him out because he's not bought. He's not owned by anybody. Because he knows that his primary fidelity and duty is to our community, our people, our towns, to White Plains, to New Rochelle, to Yonkers.
As for her opponent, Wall Street veteran Marty Dolan was at a community event in Jackson Heights.
I think her time is up. I think the voters have seen enough. And on Tuesday, we're going to have a change in representation for this district.
We'll know the winners of both races soon enough. Primary day is on June 25th.
So we'll see what happens for primary day. It would be very interesting to see if AOC and Bowman actually lost. It'd be of historic proportion. But if you guys want to see just how clownish this entire situation was. Now, we can't zoom in all the way, but on that main stage is AOC. AOC! Hyping everybody up. Sort of like at a failed high school event. So there she is. She loosened that bun. She's ready to charge and say who's ready to fight. She's she's going back and forth at that podium, trying to rally people. Now I can't play the music because Cardi B's in the background playing they're playing some Cardi B music. Trying to say, hey, we're gonna kick some conservative APAC Trump rear end. So just imagine all that stuff. She's yelling up there. She's being radical. She's being vocal. Where has this AOC been at when we asked her to fight? And there's Bowman. Yes. I remember when there used to be tens of thousands of people showing up. A weak, low turnout event. And everybody's happy, hopping up and down, not realizing that their immediate doom, their imminent doom, there we go, their imminent doom is at hand. For it's etched in stone. I don't think Bowman has a snowflake's chance in Vulcan's Forge of walking out of this primary in one piece. It'd be impressive if he did win, but it would also be a telltale sign of why the progressive movement has failed. It's because we've had weak leaders, weak, incompetent, foolish leaders that connected themselves to the Democratic machine. I take no joy in this, but I also take joy in the fact that the great reveal has happened. Now, here's that nutless wonder, Bernie. Try not to punch your screen. I'm so sorry.
Guts to take on the fossil fuel industry. Transform our energy system and save this planet for our kids and our grandchildren. And Jamal also understands that what's going on in Gaza today is totally unacceptable. Israel had the right to defend itself against the terrorist attack.
Oh, Bernie. Bernie.
Israel had the right to defend itself against the terrorist attack, but it does not have the right to go to war against the entire Palestinian people.
Gee, someone needs to tell Bernie that Israel, the apartheid government there, knew that there was going to be an attack happening. We've talked about it. The media's actually talked about it, that their intelligence forces told them that, hey, something was going to happen. And what did Netanyahu do? He did nothing. It's almost like he kind of wanted to have his wag the dog moment. But remember those counter protesters that I mentioned? The people protesting AOC? Progressive Democrats. Vote blue, no matter who. I know a lot of you talked down to us in 2020. The independents and the progressives who didn't want to vote for Biden, or those that were critical of AOC, especially how the vote blue no matter who crowd was telling all of us to keep our powder dry, and the squad's got a plan. What was the plan? Do nothing after force a vote and march for Medicare for all? Or how AOC said Biden exceeded expectations? If you want to laugh, here's the real truth, folks. The squad, Bernie, gone are your glory days.
AOC, your hands are red. Over 40,000 dead. AOC, your hands are red. AOC, your hands are red. Over 40,000 dead.
Now, I just wanted to repeat that because, again, all those people there are saying, AOC, your hands are red. Because remember, it took a while for AOC to say the word a genocide. And I do want to end this segment with at least a little bit way back machine where we time travel, where AOC is asked about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Because after all, it's been revealed that, yes, there are APAC babysitters for all of our politicians, Democrat and Republican. And the thing is, AOC and Bernie, I want to pull up this message right here. Hold on. Because this is something that really stood out that I like right here. And this is why I love my audience. Trillions really burn Bernie chaps. The Bernie will go to his mansion to write his next inspirational propaganda talking points, and good friend Biden to burn the solution. There you go. Now, why is that important? Why is that little statement there? It's funny, hilarious, but it says a lot about the squad and Bernie. They used to have the everlasting love of so many progressives and independents. People in mass would travel just to hear them speak, to show up, to stand in solidarity and defend them religiously. Religiously. Well, all these people talking down to us, all these vote blue no matter who people who would think they know better. What's it like knowing now that the Great Coalition is gone? I mean, you need us more than we need you. I want to pull up this video here as just an interesting reminder. Let's go back in time to 2018. AOC, give us your honest opinion.
What is your position on Israel? Well, I believe absolutely in Israel's right to exist. I am a proponent of a two-state solution. And for me, this is not a referendum, I think, on the state of Israel. For me, the lens through which I saw this incident as an activist, as an organizer, if 60 people were killed in Ferguson, Missouri, if 60 people were killed in the South Bronx, unarmed, 60 people were killed in Puerto Rico, I just looked at that incident more through just as an incident. And to me, it would just be completely unacceptable if that happened on our shores. But I am,
of course, the dynamic there in terms of geopolitics and the war in the Middle East is very different than people expressing their First Amendment right to protest.
Well, yes, but I also think that what people are starting to see, at least in the occupation of Palestine.
She doesn't know what she's talking about. Now, this was in 2018. No one really kind of knew who AOC truly was until it was almost too little, too late.
Is just an increasing crisis of humanitarian condition, and that to me is just where I tend to come from on this issue.
You use the term the occupation of Palestine. What did you mean by that?
I think what I meant is like the settlements that are increasing in some of these areas and places where Palestinians are experiencing difficulty in access to their housing and homes.
That's it. That's all you got. That was it. Like, I don't know how tomorrow will play out, but the reason why I'm covering this, the tragedy, the end of the Democrats, the end of the squad, is because it must serve as a constant reminder. Do not put these politicians on a pedestal. Do not look at them and revere to them as these great intellectuals of our time, because they're not. They're horribly flawed individuals. When you give up on your base, when you dismiss voters, when you tell them to shut up and fall in line and for them to turn off their brains so they can't be critical thinkers, of course people are going to give you the middle finger. Of course people are going to dismiss you. Of course people are going to no longer support you. This is how it's always been. And the Democrats wonder what happened to their great coalition, their great voting base. They threw it away. Bernie, AOC, Bowman, the whole squad. And now they're facing off against AIPAC challengers. And to be clear, look, I don't want to see these AIPAC people win. But it does serve, for me, as a point to these squad members. When you give up on your progressive ideals to play ball with the Democratic machine, then the people who put you in power have every right to give you a middle finger and no longer consider you a viable representative. And yet, we see this all the time on social media. People saying that, oh, Bernie and AOC have a plan. We've been asking them for a plan for them to fight. They have none. It's just for all of us to shut up and vote Democrat. Oh, they couldn't fight for the squad. Oh, they couldn't do this. They couldn't do that. They make up so many excuses. And now we have to just accept it. I'm sorry, Bernie. Sorry, AOC. And to anyone else that still believed in the squad. You're not serious people. And you're a waste of our time. Look at the low turnout. Look how about the fact that there's even a counter protest of similar people showing up. So in other words, maybe the event was a lot larger, but half the crowd was there to listen to AOC and Bernie, but the other half was there to protest AOC and call her out for her hypocrisy. Good luck, Democrats, especially in the rest of your primaries. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, especially for Bowman or AOC or any other New York Democrat. But gone is a great progressive movement. And it wasn't Trump that destroyed it. And it wasn't people being critical of AOC that destroyed it, or Bernie Sanders, people being critical of Bernie. It was the squad themselves that destroyed it. It was Bernie Sanders himself that destroyed the movement. Good luck to you in the rest of this election cycle. November, election night, will be quite an interesting event to see. And the meltdown, if it does happen, is going to be absolutely glorious.